Hi everyone, Thursday night, 9 o'clock, time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. Well, good to be with you. I must say, originally I thought we were going to have Six Nations this weekend. I didn't realize we had the 2 break weeks. I thought it was just the one. So I was actually looking forward to Six Nations, but unfortunately that's going to be next weekend. But still plenty of quality rugby to talk about. We've got the Super Rugby, which was really a bit of a breath of fresh air last week. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We've got URC. I'll probably ask my guests if they've got any comment on the Gallagher Premiership as well, but I don't think we're going to have too much time to talk about that. I do have what I like to call a hard close at 10 o'clock due to load shedding. But let's welcome the guests. We are having 2 guests. One of my guests is currently still out at supper having a few drinks. You can guess yourselves who that is. He'll be in a little bit later. But it's welcome to Darren Holiday. Darren, great to have you on the show for the first time, man.
Hi, Brent. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Good to finally put a name to one of the commenters. So put a face to one of the commenters. Yeah.
And I mean, you and I have had quite a bit of interaction on Twitter and today a little bit on WhatsApp and that. I see you. I mean, you just finished studying. You've just started working. You love your sports betting. What are your favorite sports to punt on?
I must say rugby and football, but mostly rugby because a lot more easy to predict, I would say.
Yeah, I've got to say this. I mean, I think rugby to me, and look, I'm going to tell you this, to me, the gap has closed quite a bit, but rugby is still one of the sports you can sort of make money on. Well, you can make money on any sport, but it's not as easy as it was, but you can still get like big moves. I mean, this week we'll go into it, and when we talk Super Rugby, I mean, a lot of early lines have moved quite dramatically in Super Rugby in particular.
For sure, yeah.
So just a reminder to everyone, the link to the newsletter, which will go out tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon with the best bet, that is down in the description box below. But Darren, I think we can get straight into it. In the meantime, talk a little bit of Super Rugby. I just want to bring the first game up here, and that is the Crusaders up against the Highlanders. Now, Darren, the first thing I guess to note this week, and it's something I picked up almost by accident, but when I did my handicapping, I took it into account, is that everyone's playing in Melbourne this week. It's a super round. So although the Crusaders are listed first there, this is in fact a game played on neutral territory.
Yeah, I saw that. Hopefully the pitch and the conditions are still good because I know they had rugby league warm-up games there the week before. So
yeah, hopefully the pitch held up. I've had a look at the weather. From what I can see, Friday, tomorrow looks great. Saturday, potentially, there is some chances of showers Saturday and Sunday, but certainly the conditions look pretty good. But as you say, interesting to see how the pitch holds up. Welcome to the boys in the live chat. Yeah, but welcome to the boys in the live chat. Peter, Paul, Farid, and Cerebral Assassin already saying hello to us there. Gents, look forward to your contributions. We're going to get stuck into this game, though, Darren. I think this line opened up around about the 13.5, 14.5 mark. I know Southpaw on the Good for the Game forum came in quite early and said, guys, he's seen this Highlanders side as it was released. He didn't like it. And the money certainly come for the Crusaders, minus 18.5. I must say, I didn't get on the early line. And now it's sitting at 18.5. And we've got a points line here of 59.5. What do you think of this one?
No, I really like that line. Even at 18.5, I think the Highlanders are going to get smashed. Yeah, their team is not very strong. They seem to be resting their All Blacks in week 2, which doesn't make any sense. But yeah, no, I fancy the Crusaders to put in a strong performance.
Yeah, I also like the Crusaders here as well. Points line of 59.5 there. I mean, are you a points punter? Are you more a handicap punter? I'll tell you straight, I'm more of a points punter than a handicap. But guys, don't worry.
I kind of want to see how it plays out with the new laws and the speed of the game. So I'm going to wait a bit before I start betting on the points lines in this Super Rugby competition.
Right, yeah, fair enough. I mean, I must say last week the points lines, a lot of guys made money going overs, but the bookmakers, I always say in the old days, the bookmakers took a while to adjust tactics, but straight away now you can see the points lines.
No, yeah, all of the lines.
Yeah, very, very high. So, look, I'm not going to argue with you there on that one. I also like the Crusaders there on the minus. I would like to have got the 14.5, but we'll probably take them on a slightly lower handicap and perhaps throw them into the double. Points, I've got to say that, if conditions are good, 59.5. I don't like going overs at 59.5, but I do think that we will get plenty of points in this one. Although I am also looking at, in fact, Peter Paul has mentioned it here, quite interesting. I was just going to say, I am perhaps leaning towards a Highlanders underline here at the moment. I think the Crusaders' defense, I mean, the Chiefs took a while to break them down last week. And for me, maybe Highlanders unders here could be the way to go. Welcome also to Chris joining us there in the live chat. Just want to mention Nathan Mallinson. Don't know if you're watching tonight, but if anybody is in contact with Nathan, I've also got his details somewhere. It took me a while, but I had a look. He won, he said France by 11 in last week's show. He's won a 500 Rand POKERBET voucher. So, Nathan, contact me, email Brent at goodforthegame.co.za. Right, that's the first game done and dusted. Let's move on to the next one. I mean, Darren, the one thing that struck me this week is we've got some massive handicaps here. I mean, very few sort of choice games, certainly in Super Rugby. And here we got a handicap, Rebels plus 17.5 against the Hurricanes and a points line of 60.5. Where's your money here?
Again, I'm not too sure. I would say the Hurricanes should cover, but I think this one will be a lot closer than a close run thing. It won't be as easy as the Crusaders, in my opinion.
Right. And any other betting angle you got on this? Are you the type that goes for any first try scorer markets or anything like that? Any other markets you enjoy in the rugby?
I might look at Ardie Sauvaire anytime try scorer, but we'll see what we can get on that.
Right, yeah. I'd have to agree. I mean, this handicap, Rebels, bear in mind, are the only team that's actually playing a home game this weekend, plus 17.5. There was lots of money last week for the Hurricanes, went minus 2.5, all the way up to minus 6.5 against the Reds. They started slowly against the Reds, but they duly delivered for us. They also delivered half of my best bet last week as well. I'm leaning towards the Hurricanes, but also leaning towards points here, 60.5. It's a big line, but I still think that there's every chance that this game breaks open and we get it. Let's just see what the boys in the live chat are saying. Farid is saying Canes are an erratic team, kept very high. Farid, I must admit, last week I thought I wasn't that impressed with the Canes. I was actually, I mean, yes, they ended up winning, I think, by 34 points or something like that. But I just felt the Reds weren't really up to it last week. So interesting. Oraclepedia, there we go. He's on his way home to join the show. He's watching in the car. Hopefully he's not driving. And in typical diplomatic fashion, he says the Hurricanes are absolutely going to come home romping away. And Farid agrees with him there on the minus. Let's move on to the next game. People in the live chat saying they want to see if I can finish the show before Oracle gets in. And that's Moana Pacifica. Here we got another big one, Darren. Plus 24.5. They lost 34-36 to the Fijian Drua last week. That game taking place in Auckland. And they face a Chiefs side that beat the Crusaders 31-10. And here we got, once again, a points line of 59.5. My views, I can tell you on this one, is that I'm on the overs camp here. I think we're going to get plenty of points. What are your views on the handicap or the points here?
Yeah, same. I think the Chiefs could run away with this again. Like Damien McKenzie could have a field there if he's on his game. It is the kind of game that's going to be very open, so lots of tries. So yeah, I think the overs could be the way to go.
Yeah, over 59.5. I've got a feeling that might edge out a little bit even by kickoff. Farid coming in, Chiefs the best bet. Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. Look, 24.5. You know the problem with these handicaps at 24.5. There's always a chance Chiefs get 30 points up and then sort of step off the gas a little bit. So I would probably rather be looking at the points markets. Chiefs, I haven't looked at their line. We could probably work it out, but I'll leave that to Oracle when he gets in. But maybe a Chiefs overs probably at somewhere around, probably what, 40 odd there, the Chiefs line. So that's going to be pretty high. Cerebral likes overs here as well. Yeah, so overs is probably going to be my play there, although I might also just go a straight bet on Chiefs overs. Let's move on to the next game. This is an interesting one. Fijian Drua up against the Waratahs. Waratahs all the rage last week against the Reds. They were against the Brumbies. They were well backed in on the handicap. But in the end, it was the Brumbies who won, and the Waratahs scoring a late try to effectively get a bonus point. And so punters hurting after that one. And here we got the Drua were plus 7.5 early in the week. They've sort of edged into plus 6.5. I'm struggling with this one, Darren. Have you got any firm views?
Yeah, I was struggling too. I think I might just go for Waratahs 1-12 because I think they should get the win. But I'm not sure whether they'll cover.
Right, yeah.
So
that 1-12 market's an interesting one. Waratahs 1-12, you're probably going to get them around about the 15-10 mark?
Probably somewhere around there.
Yeah, Darren, you're a young punter. I was doing shows probably while you were still in high school there. But I always just say the one thing about the 1 to 12 market is you're always a try away from losing your bet. You know what I'm saying?
For sure,
you
yeah.
can never relax. You can never relax in that market, but it's a really good market because some games you can just say, and another market that's become popular with punters and is the either team by 1 to 7 at Sunbet or potentially the try bet at, I know World Sports Betting have got it. So yeah, interesting one. That this is a tough one for me. I am once again leaning points here at 55.5, and Oracle just coming in there. He's saying Waratah's minus for smalls there on for the Oracle. Right, let's move on to the next game of Super Rugby. Blues minus 11.5. They were 10.5 when the betting opened. I've seen 12.5 in places. So it's edging up there. Blues, Darren, super impressive last week against the Highlanders. I mean, I think my bet there in the good for the game preview was Blues over 30.5. And I can't remember, did it arrive just after halftime or just before? I don't know. But it was a massive 60 points to 20 win over the Highlanders in Dunedin.
Yeah, they're another team filled with All Blacks. If they get going, they could be unstoppable on their day. So I would probably back them on the minus, but the Brumbies also quite a good team. They've got a good pack, probably the best Australian team. So it could be one of those games that's quite close, but if I had to pick, I would go Blues minus.
Blues minus. I'm also leaning towards the Blues minus. They haven't seen a points line on this one yet, but might also be looking to the Blues overs there as well. Farid coming in, Brumbies, a mixed bag this year. The Blues for him. Farid, yeah, interesting. I know you've got a lot of analysis you do on the games, and also find myself leaning towards the Blues there. Oraclepedia saying, young punter, you're only as old as your last win, and he's one well old. I think, imagine he means 1 week old there. But yeah, Oracle, I'm sure we'll get your views in just a few minutes. Right, and let's go to the end of Super Rugby. Now, this is an interesting one, Darren. Western Force plus 6.5 against the Reds. Now, I handicapped this game. I always do my handicaps on a Sunday night before the bookies come out, just so that I can get a feel. Now, sometimes I admit I'm wrong, like the handicap comes out way away from mine. I don't always bet on it. But this one, I just had a feeling would be a closer game. I thought it would be closer to a choice game. But the money clearly hasn't really come for the Force. I know the Reds have named a bit of a stronger side. They've got James O'Connor on the bench. I'm still very firmly in the Force camp here. Where are you sitting?
I would probably look at the unders. It's the last game of the weekend. The field might be a bit cut up. So I would either back the plus or go for the unders, depending on what the line is.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory because it is. I think watching the way this field is going to handle. I mean, it's got to handle. You said it handled rugby league last week already.
Yeah.
And now we've got 6 games. So by the time the last game comes, particularly if there is a little bit of rain, even if it's not during play, but just softens that pitch up a bit. I mean, I'm assuming, and maybe if you don't know this, the guys in the live chat do, but is it a grass pitch? It's not an artificial surface, is it?
As far as I'm aware, it's a grass pitch.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. But
so anyway, unless someone can put us right on that one, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see there. Oracle saying, wait for the Sharks and Lions games. He's almost home. I can imagine him running in to join the show there. And Farid reckons the Reds will be too strong there. It's going to be very interesting to see. There clearly is support for the Reds because this market hasn't moved at all. I took a little bit of a double with the Force in it at plus 7.5 early in the week. Oraclepedia going Force on the board. He says no other option. Well, we're going to get into the URC now, Darren. Oracle will probably join us in a few minutes. And let's start off with a big handicap here. Glasgow Warriors minus 23.5 against Zebra and a points line of 57.5. Now, the Warriors, of course, are coming off a defeat to the Lions. They've headed back to Scotland. I was pretty disappointed on them. I had over 26.5 Glasgow Warriors points, and to me, they were very disappointing last week. They placed a Zebra side that I think they were 34-38 down to Connacht a couple of weeks ago and ended up getting blown out the water in the last quarter after coming right back into it. So Zebra, not a side you can trust. But, man, this seems like a big handicap.
Yeah, it does seem like a big handicap, but for me, it's one of those games I would probably avoid. Neither team's in great form. Both missing the international players. I'm not sure. Probably I'd lean towards the plus, but no big stakes in that game.
Yeah, they're the second leg of my multiple. In fact, I think the line I got was plus 21.5 with the Force plus 7.5. So that tells me that possibly after team news here, there's actually been a bit of support for the Glasgow Warriors. But for me, it's a big handicap. Not a game I'm going to get terribly involved in, but I'm leaning towards the plus here at 23.5. Farid saying there, Glasgow second team week with Zebra playing close to first team may be an easy plus sell. That's certainly the way I'm looking at things at the moment, Farid. Right, let's get the next game going. What I'll do is if I get to the South African games, which I know Oracle wants to talk on, I'll skip them and we'll come back to them. But first, we got Munster against the Scarlets. This handicap, I think, has been fairly stable all week. I think there might have been some early minus 14.5 Munster. And we've got the Scarlets here. We've got a points line of 51.5, probably indicative of a little bit of inclement weather in the area. Darren, where's your money on this one?
I quite like the Munster minus. I think it was 2 weeks ago. They were quite impressive against the Ospreys or the Dragons, one of the two. But yeah, I thought they were very good.
Running away with a victory, yeah.
And Achia Snyman's back, so hopefully good to see him back in action. But I would fancy the Munster on the minus in this game.
Yeah, certainly looking forward to seeing Achia and just hoping he can hold up. I mean, he's had such bad luck. Raymond Evans just also coming in saying Achia Snyman is back. That's going to be great. Oraclepedia reckons that the previous game he's going the Warriors minus there. But Munster against the Scarlets, yes. Scarlets, though, they threw in also a result a couple of weeks ago. Was it against Edinburgh where they, it's almost a choice game with the bookies and the Scarlets ended up hammering it. It was on their weekend where many of us were looking to oppose the Welsh teams because of all the strikes and stuff like that. And they ended up doing jolly well. So a bit wary of it, but like you, I'm leaning towards Munster. I haven't seen a points line. I don't know if anyone in the live chat has seen that. Farid here is going Scarlets on the plus for sure. Second best bet of the week for him. So, yeah, we'll have to maybe give that some consideration. Right, let's move on to the next game. I'm going to skip the South African games, and I'm going to jump to Edinburgh against Leinster. And I've got to show off this Leinster jersey. I didn't wear my POKERBET one today. I'll have that back on for the Six Nations next week. But Mark Dunphy, Mark, I don't know if you're watching live today. You normally do comment if you are. But, he sent me this absolute beauty. It's the Heineken Cup jersey of Leinster. And I'm really enjoying wearing it. He got me a triple XL. So it certainly it does fit me. Now, this one, I saw a bit of plus 7.5 Edinburgh early in the week. It appears to have edged out. My rule is generally in these sort of games, I won't oppose Leinster. I may have no bet, but I'm not going to oppose them. What do you reckon of this one?
I think I quite like Leinster. Edinburgh have been terrible without their internationals. You mentioned they lost 40-odd 15 or whatever it was the other 2 weeks ago. Without the internationals, they just don't seem to play well, even at home. So I would lean towards. Yeah,
I must say I'm leaning towards Leinster as well. They've got such depth in their side. I know that a number of players have been released back into the squads as well. Chris just saying he was wondering what size the jersey was. Thanks, Chris. Yes, a triple XL. I've probably got to wear a bigger jersey than any of the lads in the Leinster team. Oracle advising he's 4 minutes from home. But yeah, this is certainly one of the games I'll be keen on, and I'm looking towards Leinster. The other thing I like to look at is Leinster points up. Sometimes in running, they don't always score points early, but they're the sort of side who generally at some stage will hit their straps. And I guess Edinburgh, if I'm not mistaken, they do play on a synthetic surface. So we're probably going to have fairly good conditions for this one. Oracle reckons Edinburgh board small, and Farid reckons Leinster will win by 15 or more. And if I've got to choose between Oracle and Farid on this one, I'm choosing Farid. No doubt about it. Right, let's go to the next game. Ospreys minus 5.5 against Benetton. I don't know. Ospreys have turned in some good performances this season, Darren, and Benetton have been a bit hot and cold, but this game I look at this game and I go, yeah, I'm probably not going to get very much involved in this one.
Yeah, likewise. They're definitely better games to have a look at this weekend. Both teams have been pretty inconsistent. They're either really good or pretty average. So, yeah, I think there's better places to put your money.
Right, and let's before I go on to the next game, I just want to ask you, Gallagher Premiership, do you follow that as well?
I do, yeah.
I'm going to ask you at the end if you've got any Premiership fancies. I'm not going to bring all the games up, but I will ask you on that one. Let's go to the next game. It's the Dragons, the Welsh side, plus 5.5 against Connacht. Tough one this as well. Dragons have actually, I think, performed fairly well this season, perhaps punched above their weight a little bit. But Connacht, at the end of the day, put Zebra away fairly comfortably on I think it was on the road. And yeah, if anything, I'm leaning towards the Irish team here. Darren?
Yeah, likewise. I'm not too sure about the Dragons. Again, like the other Welsh teams, they're pretty hot or cold. And Connacht are fairly consistent. They're not as good away from home, but they should be able to cover that cap.
Right, yeah, I'm going Connacht and Fareed Rubber stamping our selection there as well. Right, let's go on to what is the final URC game. Well, it's not the final game because we're going to talk about the two South African games when Oracle gets in. And we've got Cardiff up against Ulster here. Cardiff plus 5.5 points against Ulster. I've got to say, Darren, last week I'm not a big fan of the Sharks without the internationals, but I thought they would beat Ulster. And Ulster were never in doubt last week against the Sharks. To me, totally outplayed them. They could take a lot of confidence into this match.
Yeah, I think Ulster are a pretty good team. Even their second string players seem to turn up and put in a shift. So I would fancy them on the minus in this game if I had to pick a winner.
Yeah, myself, I'm also leaning towards Ulster on the minus here. These days the sides don't seem to mind the travel too much. Reverend coming in, he's of course in New Zealand saying, morning lads. Yeah, we've gone pretty quickly because Oracle hasn't been with us. So we have talked about Super Rugby already. But yeah, share any bets you've got with us in Super Rugby there, Reverend. Oraclepedia, Connacht minus, Dragon blowing smoke. And yeah, Ulster on the plus. I assume you mean Ulster on the minus there, Fareed, on that one for the URC, the final match there. Right, well, let's talk then a little bit of Gallagher Premiership, Darren, because there are a host of fixtures taking place this weekend. I'm not going to bring them all up, but what do you fancy this weekend? I know there was been a lot of money for the Quins, Marcus Smith, I think, being released back, but have shifted those lines a bit already.
Yeah, I still fancy the Quins to cover that cap. They've been playing well with Smith back. They should be ready to go at home at the Stoop. I fancy them to get some points on the board there. I haven't seen any points lines for them, but I will definitely be looking at those when they come out. But yeah, they're sorry, go on.
Sorry, carry on.
They're a completely different side when Marcus Smith is back at 10 to when they're without him.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. When Smith is there, then I'm excited about them. I know there wouldn't be team lines in that out yet, but any thoughts on the Sale Saracens game? I saw Sale minus 4.5 there against Saracens. Of course, Saracens do miss a lot of players to the English squad, but a lot of depth in the squad. I thought that's quite an interesting one.
I do really like Sale, but the one issue is you can never trust their discipline. I think it was 2 weeks ago against Northampton. They were cruising in that game, Manu Tuilagi red card, and then the game changes completely. So for me, I would just leave that alone because you never know what you're going to get with them. They've been playing well, but discipline has been a big issue, even against Exeter last week.
Great. Well, I'm going to buy a little bit more time waiting for the Oracle here and just talk about POKERBET quickly, Darren, because they, of course, are sponsoring our Six Nations shows. And obviously, we'll perhaps just give a 500 Rand voucher away tonight as well. But I've seen you on the tables because you did win one of the early vouchers, one of the entries into the competitions. You enjoying your poker on the site?
No, for sure. I used to play all the time during lockdown with my mates, so it's cool to put a bit of money on it against some strangers. Some of them are quite big ballers and put quite a bit on the table, but yeah, it's good to just get in there, have some fun, keep busy on the weekend when you're not doing too much.
Yeah, I mean, load shedding's put a bit of a damp on my poker because I like to play the 9 o'clock tournament. It's like an 88 Rand buy-in or something. It's not huge. I mean, you tend to buy, rebuy, by the time you're in, you're 400-500 in for the night. But, it's nice. I've done probably show a profit in that tournament overall. But now for you, are you more a tournament player or have you played any of the cash games as well?
I do prefer the tournaments. They're just a lot easier to, once you're in, you're kind of in there for a long haul and it's more enjoyable. Whereas you're kind of in and out of the games. So, yeah, I've enjoyed the tournaments.
Excellent. Yeah, I've also the reason I've been playing a bit of cash games is because of the load shedding. Then at least I know, okay, I've got to stop at 9
You
o'clock or
can
10
leave.
o'clock,
Yeah.
and then I leave. But thoroughly enjoying it. And I mean, there's all sorts of games on there. I think the site's going to do very, very well, the POKERBET site. And I've also been seeing Henrik, the undertaker, on the tables quite a bit. He's been playing quite a lot as well. Right, we're going to touch, well, I don't know when Oracle's coming in, but we're going to start talking about the South African games now. Toulon and Quins double, says Raymond Evans. That looks like his bet for the weekend there. And Oraclepedia says he's 2 minutes away. Well, that's the longest 2 minutes in history. We're going to get started on the South African fixtures now. And let me skim down to it. Let's start off with the Stormers against the Sharks, Darren. We got Stormers minus 7.5 points against the Sharks. Now, these sides met in Durban not long ago. The Sharks were actually favourite for the game. And the Stormers, what was it, 49-16 or something ridiculous. They gave them an absolute hiding. And here the Stormers are favourites. It's exactly where I handicapped the game. But I must say, I'm leaning towards the Stormers here. You know, they keep on almost, you oppose them at your peril. You know, they keep on, you write them off and they keep on coming back. And I think they're going to be very, very hard to stop at home.
No, I have to agree. I think they're just so well coached. They have such a good structure. They play to the game plan, whereas you see the Sharks often play off the cuff, and it costs them. And with Lebok at 10, he makes a big difference to that team.
Right, Marius coming in and saying Stormers by 8 to 14 points. That's inclusive at 3.8 at good value at WSP. Yeah, Marius, those are the sort of bets. I mean, I don't always take those bets, but, you know, if there's a game I want to watch and I don't have a strong fancy, you know, I go for a bet like that because it gives you hopefully a good interest throughout the game as well. Box still in the camp, yes, Fareed, 100%. So the Sharks are not going to be either team will be at full strength. But for me, I was saying it to someone on WhatsApp. I can't remember who it was last week. We were saying, and Darren, I don't know if you agree with this, of all the teams, the Sharks miss the internationals more than the others.
For sure.
There seems to be almost such a gulf, but also when the Sharks internationals are there, the other players on the side tend to lift their game. And of all the teams, I think the Sharks miss the internationals. You agree with that?
No, for sure. They definitely aren't the same team without Eben and Sia. It's night and day between the two sides.
No, exactly. So anyway, we'll get, if Oracle is in time, we'll get his views on that one. But let's move to the next game. Now, this is an interesting one. Blue Bulls minus 13.5 against the Lions. I mean, the Lions, they've been terrible. They haven't won a game against South African opposition. But they did beat Glasgow last week, and I thought they were pretty impressive in doing it. The Bulls, on the other hand, have, you know, also, I mean, favourites not so long ago against the Sharks. But and I see Oracle coming in. I'm going to bring him in just a second. But they just haven't convinced me this season either. And Darren, I'm going to tell you, I'm leaning towards the Lions on the plus here. Do you want me to? Let me bring Oracle in first. Oracle, how's it going, mate? How was dinner?
It was fantastic. Please switch that light off, Dylan, or Debbie. It's too bright on the screen. I went to a quiet little hippie coffee shop in Vredehok, and I got to tell you, it's been 20 years since I was in Vredehok last, and I know Brendan O'Connell, Coyle, Patches used to live out there, and yeah, what a nice place. And I'm really sorry I'm late. They were just slow with the food, but the food was great, so I can't complain. Carlisle on Derry was the name. So if you're in the Vredehok area, I can very much recommend it. And I had an Uber driver, Zimbabwean on the way in, Zimbabwean on the way out, living in two different areas. Great chat. I actually watched the show while I was in the car, obviously. Sorry about that. I know you said it was the longest 2 minutes of your life, but I'm here. And honestly, I looked at all these other games. That Fijian game, scraping home against the Pacifica the other day, I couldn't read anything into that. Hurricanes minus, out of all of those Super Rugby games, Hurricanes minus for me has got the value, and I'm definitely interested in the Force. I know that they're not home, as you pointed out earlier, but I like the Force, and so for me, those are the only two bets I'm going to have. I might get stuck in at game time or even at halftime during the match, but those are two I've penciled in for right now. I stupidly went in on yesterday, into the Six Nations thinking it was this weekend. So for those of you who do want some early strikes, I can tell you they got Italy plus 1 or Italy on the board at 11-10. I backed that. Got stuck into Scotland to beat Ireland, and I'm going to tell you they're going to get a proper AAK after that rubbish performance against the French. They had 100 chances to win that game by 15, never mind 3, and they stuffed them up, intercept tries, never mind the red cards that negated themselves. It was a bit horrible, but you've got to be impressed with Scotland coming out of a 19-0 deficit and almost winning the game, and the difference to me would have been massive. Double-digit stuff for me. I got properly climbed in. I had some halftime stuff and during the game in running at plus 13 and 14. So although I had a small loss in the game because I had a proper strike at the outright and the initial 6.5 and 7.5 handicap, I don't feel like I've really lost much because they're going to come out firing against Ireland. So unfortunately, I am talking about that because I played some bets. I left the the France-England game, but I do want to say something as well. I know we're not talking about it this week, but Scotland not beating Ireland has actually put France back in the tournament. So if you're looking for a bit of France and you may have thought you missed the even monies or 15 or 10s or whatever they had
Scotland,
a couple of weeks ago.
That Scotland but Scotland haven't played. You mean if Scotland if they beat Ireland because they haven't played Ireland yet?
No, I'm saying, I know, Brent. I'm saying Scotland not beating France has actually put France back in the tournament.
No, okay,
because I believe Scotland will beat Ireland. So if Scotland beats Ireland, France are back in this tournament, and I think they're trading at around 16 to 20 to 1. So again, it's a lonely 100 or lonely 200, whatever you got. But I promise you, backing France right now is not a bad idea because we don't know how the rest of the next 2 weeks are going to go. I do believe Scotland can win this tournament. I backed them again this week at 7 to 1. I'm happy. Ireland are way too short. I think they were not 7 to 1. Sorry, it was 10 to 1. Ireland are trading between 1 to 10 and 1 to 5. I wouldn't touch that with anybody's money. Never mind the granny or anything like that. The value is definitely with Scotland and France right now, and who knows how this is going to end up. Next thing, Italy for me. Italy are +1, 11 to 10 against Wales. This is the game they've targeted. I'd always go back to the Fiji Uruguay game in the World Cup. That was Uruguay's game. Every team targets a game. Italy have come last, wooden spooners for so many years. This is the only game they got a chance of winning. They're going to go for it. So I know I'm speaking a weekend in turn, and next week I'll probably repeat myself if I'm welcome back. But yeah, for me, the punts of next week are Scotland on the board. You can take the handicap if you're scared. I'm not. I'm going board Scotland, and I'm going Italy board here. And if you're a little bit worried, take the +1.5 at 9 to 10. Let's talk about this week. I saw you had the Sharks.
Yeah, wait, before you talk about this week, I just want to rip up the script of this week's show, the running order as I had it. But yes, let's touch on what I want to do. Is I'm going to get your other games, the URC games. I'll get you at the end. But let's and I want to go back to the Sharks game after I've got Darren's opinion on the Bulls game. But let's start off with you on the Bulls game then. -13.5 against the Lions.
Listen, the guys that are watching right now, half of this is Lions bias, and I'll be honest with you, the other half isn't. The other half is telling you that something wrong with the Bulls. I called the Stormers to beat the Bulls. I'm worried about this. If I was a Bulls punter here and a Bulls supporter, I'd be hell of a scared at staring down a double-digit minus here. It can go wrong so many ways. The smart money here would be on the Lions. And I'm going to say, never mind 9 to 10 at 11. You can take an 11 to 10 at 11 or a 16 to 10 at 9 and go a little bit closer here. You don't have to bother with this 13. 13 is way too high. And if I was a Bulls punter, I'd be watching the game and seeing how it goes. Honestly, the Lions can win this game. And that's the other half speaking, the intelligent half, the clearly thinking half. My other half says Lions will win by 40, but that's not obviously going to happen. But the Lions can definitely win this game. They had a great win last week. They held up the flag for South Africa. I mean, those Sharks, we'll discuss them in a minute. I banned myself from them. I got out of the ban with a judge court order that said I could have one more bet, and that's over now. I'm done. No more Sharks for, I'm going to say, what are we now? March until August. No more bets on the Sharks until August. I will oppose them, but I'm banned from backing the Sharks. I got stuck into that last week thinking those Ulster Oaks were going to battle the Heat and they were half a team. I'm going to say the E team with a couple of Fs on the bench would have beaten that Sharks team. They're in complete disarray, badly managed. No one knows what's going on. And just now, and my kid said to me the other day, how's no one going to the Lions game? I said, well, the Lions Stadium's in the wrong side of town, which you know, Brent. I mean, we've been to games over there. Reality is the Sharks ground will have less supporters than the Lions within a few months if they carry on playing like they are, and I'm expecting them to. So, yeah, for me, Lions plus, if you've got a little bit more ammo in the bank, you can take them to win this game. But honestly, it will be very close. It will not be a double-digit win by the Bulls. Anything with a 1 or 2, any double digit, you can write that off. It's not going to happen. This will be a close game, and the Lions can win.
Right, I'm going to bring Darren in. Well, let me first of all introduce you to Darren there, Gav. I mean, we haven't had much chance, but Darren, a guy, a much younger punter, but as you say, you're only as young as your last win there. And
you're only as young as your last win, correct.
And one more favor, going forward, you said there's 2 halves of you. Do you mind just bringing the intelligent half going forward? Maybe next week.
It only applies to Lions games.
No, I'm only teasing. Right, Darren, you've heard it from the Oracle there. What have you got to add to this Bulls-Lions game?
I'm not quite as confident as he is, but I do fancy the Lions on the plus. The Bulls have been so
at this point, Darren, I'll tell you sound more confident than me.
The Bulls have been so one-dimensional. They just look completely out of sorts. I don't know what's going on there, but there's definitely something wrong in that team.
Yeah,
that's right, Darren. Sorry, I'm just going to jump in here. Brent, you'll agree to this as well. A lot of the time, us as punters or viewers or watchers, whatever you want to call it, we don't know what happens off the field. Yes, we get the journalists that tell us they saw this and that, but we don't get that change room vibe. And Butch James said it when he left with that New Zealander. What is his name? I can't remember the guy that coached him. And Butch James left the Lions.
Mitchell.
Yeah, Mitchell. The change room gets toxic. And unfortunately, even the wives don't even know about it. All the best friends don't know about it. It happens in this small little space. And the Oaks walk out of there and they think, I don't want to be here. And if they don't want to be there, they don't want to be on the field either. So Darren's right. Something's going on with those Bulls. We as the outside, we don't know.
Yeah, and I must say that has me firmly in the Lions camp as well. I like them. I'll be interested to see the points lines on this game. But yeah, interesting. All 3 of us are lined there on the Whites. Farid saying Jake White.
Sorry, Darren, I did cut in there. Carry on if you were still speaking.
No worry. It's all good, yeah.
But Darren's average analysis per game is quite a lot lower than yours in terms of time, Oracle.
Yes, I told my mates at work that you cut me off last week.
Well, the first 5 minutes of the show, I remember I had that Wi-Fi issue. I didn't actually hear it, but I knew you would. I just every now and again, I just heard enough to know that you were still talking. Jake White must go, possibly, says Farid. Yeah, I must.
Okay, all right. Here's a question for Farid. Where does Jake White go? Where is he going? Who's going to benefit from this at the end of the day?
And, I wanted to add one thing. You were talking about things not being right in the Bulls camp. I mean, I don't know if you could really draw any correlation, but I was quite stunned to see Tuks really struggled at the start. They lost to Shimlers at home. They lost quite heavily to Ike.
I saw Marty's lost.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing. I mean, while we digressing a bit, I mean, I had one Varsity Cup bet. Look, it was a small one. I don't bet, I agree with you on the Varsity Cup. I don't get carried away. But I took Marty's minus 31.5 against Cut. And they lost the game. I mean, they didn't even. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I saw the scores on Twitter and saw that they lost the game.
I know. I haven't had a bet this season yet, so yeah. But it was. I remember when I had proper rules in place. This was a maximum of 1 unit. Like, don't get involved more than that.
And Darren, one question for you: where did you study? At any of the varsities that play varsity?
At UCT.
At UCT, yeah. Okay. Did you used to go down?
Okay, so all right, Darren, tell us what was the vibe on a Monday night at rugby nights? I mean, what was it like?
It's not quite the same as Stellies. It's not quite as hectic because you can't drink in the stands because it's a national.
You can't drink that they catch you, but yes, I understand.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's a good jaw. So.
Right. Well, we got the Bulls game out of the way. Gav, I'm going to go back to you now quickly then on the Sharks game, because we have got Darren's opinion on this already. Stormers against the Sharks, 7.5 points.
Yeah, there's a digit missing here, Brent. Honestly, I think you can go minus 17 here with confidence. This is race over. There's only one result here. The Stormers are going to thump the Sharks team properly, and it'll take them 4 weeks to realize how they got to the bottom. But this one is primed. This Stormers team is on the, I'm not going to say the up and up, the top and top. This Stormers team looks like they can beat anybody. And for me, this Sharks team is damaged goods, and they're going to arrive here in a bad mood, bad change room, bad vibe with the management. This is race over. I'll be surprised if the Sharks get half of their points allocation in the betting. Whatever their point number is, they won't even get half of it. Stormers will thump them here. This is seriously, this is a 5-star bet. I'm going to say that it's almost as good as Scotland beating Ireland. It's right up there. This is a tip-top bet.
Right. I just want to quickly run through a competition. It's a 500 Rand POKERBET voucher. This is for the guys in the live chat, so you can predict the winner in the live chat. As I said, Nathan won last week, so do email me on that one, Nathan. But this is the imaginary game. This is the Bulls and the Stormers playing against
This is what we spoke about before, yes. the phantom matchups, yes. Or whatever we call them. So yes.
What we got here is you've got the Bulls against the Stormers. Now, the Bulls are obviously playing the Lions and the Stormers are Sharks, but we take their points. If the Bulls score 32 and the Stormers score 28, then the Bulls have won by 4. And what I want to know is who's going to win the Bulls against the Stormers this weekend and how many points. So obviously we just add the two of their points together would be the total points. And that will be for a 500 Rand POKERBET voucher. You can email me, and I'll give you the link as well to open your POKERBET account if you don't have one yet. So yeah, that's the competition for the guys in the live chat. I normally do this earlier in the show. I clean forgot about it. Yes, Gav?
Can I have a first stab at this? Yes. I'm going to go Stormers 38. Carry the 2 months. 38.
38.
Stormers by 38, and only team to score.
By 38.
Stormers. I might do the Bulls. No, the Bulls will score a bit, so maybe 48. We'll give the Bulls 10. 48. Total 48. Stormers will win the game by, what's that? 38, 28. Yeah. Stormers by 28 and total being 48.
Right.
No, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, that's correct. Right. Let's get into the best bets and wind up the show here. Gavin, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, we didn't touch on you with some of the other URC games, but I know that you mainly focus on the South African teams. But what are your best bets for the weekend?
For me, the Hurricanes minus, geez, they were impressive. You've got to like those Hurricanes. That's on the Super Rugby. Hurricanes minus for me is the best bet. It's sort of tinkling on a 1.5 to 2 unit bet. It's not a big bet for me, but on that side, it is the best bet. Followed by a force plus, possibly board. I'll see when the TV comes on. So Hurricanes minus, force plus. That's it for me there. If you're going to chuck in something else, you could probably go. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I made some comments on the comment section earlier. That's how I felt at that moment. But honestly, those are the only 2 games I'll be interested in. I might have a small bet here and there, but really, Hurricanes minus, they were really impressive. Force plus or board. URC, Stormers minus, definitely the best bet of the weekend. Outdoing every other bet I'm going to have this weekend. Stormers minus for me. Climb on. Don't worry about it. Just climb on. It's race over. Sharks have got nothing here. And if you want to double that in, you can take the Lions to win the game on the board, or you can have a Lions plus. And I'm going to suggest under 10. Don't worry about the handicap at 13. Get a decent price of 10, plus 9, plus 8, plus 7. They can win the game. Of course they can. And of course they can lose it as well. But I honestly don't see the Bulls winning this game comfortably. For me, it's all about the Stormers and the bits and pieces around that. But I'm not getting involved in every single game. I did. There was one other URC game that I liked as well. I think those Irish minuses. The Munster minus and the team playing Leicester, the plus. I can't remember who that is now.
Edinburgh.
Yeah, I like the plus there, Edinburgh plus. But again, small. I'm not getting involved in that. Stormers for the weekend's about the Stormers for me.
Okay, Darren, let's go to you for your best bets of the weekend.
From Super Rugby, I would definitely say the Crusaders. I like the minus there. I think that they should cover that quite easily. And then I like the Chiefs points, whatever that'll be, probably around 38 to 40. I think they'll score a heaps of points. So those two would be my two favorites. And then again, also the Hurricanes minus I do like, but it's not as strong as the other two in terms of Super Rugby.
Your main bets are coming in Super Rugby then.
And then also, I do like the Stormers minus as well. That's another,
Excellent. Well, the two of you very
much. In fact, this is one. Yeah, this is one of those games where you can actually take the Stormers minus, the biggest that your bookmaker will offer. I mean, a lot of these guys will go up to 25 or 30, and 15 points away, 20 points away, and you might get something like 9-1. I'm going to be looking for those alternative handicaps. I'll start punting the Stormers as the biggest. I mean, I won't be surprised if they win this game by 30. Really, I won't.
Confident stuff there. Peter Paul saying, well done to Darren there on his debut. Darren, it's been great having you on the show, man. Pleased, I know, with load shedding and all sorts of things, it's been tough, but certainly hope you'll look to come on the show again in the future. And just give us your Twitter handle. It's Darren Holiday, eh? Darren Holiday is your Twitter handle, so you can look for Darren on Twitter there as well. And otherwise, look for him on the POKERBET tables. That's where I normally see him. My handle at POKERBET is the Falcon. So look out for the Falcon there as well. Oracle, thanks very much.
That's the header, the rugby header.
That's the Falcon. Yes. I think I got the name because I used to consider myself that I used to swoop in and get the betting value, but I don't think it's that appropriate anymore. But Oracle, thanks for rushing home from your dinner. I hope you didn't inconvenience the family too much.
No, it was actually with some ex-colleagues from Durban that were down in Cape Town for the day. So yeah, I did want to go out and meet them. I did say to Debbie, if I'd got their Wi-Fi password, I might have even done it at the place. But yeah, very nice place. I was very happy. No problem. I'm just sorry I couldn't do it on the way. I remember you and I tried to do that at one point a few years ago, and it didn't work. So yeah, the cell phone internet's not good enough to upload. That's the problem.
That's for sure. But listen, thanks to all the boys in the live chat as well. It was a great show. Looking forward to lots of sport and betting this weekend. There's a great cycling race taking place as well. I'm going to be getting involved in that. Chris Sturdy, my partner, good for the game. He's got a horse running in one of the big feature races in Johannesburg. So plenty of action there. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. Oh, yes?
A touch of grace. We can't forget that.
Yes, well done. Touch of grace.
The Met's last race on the Met Day won again yesterday. Very good. I was very happy.
Got me out of a big hole on Met Day, 20-1, eh? That was a good one. Excellent, guys. Thanks very much. Look forward to next week's show where we'll be talking Six Nations again. Till next time. Cheers.
Cheers.